Welcome to part 2. Today for the active web we're going to be working on our grid and a searchable report. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy the intramural form we created and paste in a new copy. We're going to rename that intramural report. And just right click on it and pick the menu item called rename. Once again, right click, rename. And let's open that up. And we're going to delete the work we did, and we're going to rename the subtitle to Sports Report. We're going to add in some extra spaces to give us some space to work with. And then we're going to go to our ASP.NET controls, data, and grid view. Since we have a grid view, we need an access data source. We configure it the same way we have done before. We're going to use AWICE2, and then we're going to use a different table though, cadet playing sports. Alright, here we can't click the generate, insert, update, delete statement, but that's fine. We just keep on doing that because it'll save us time and agony. Alright, so let's enable paging, sorting, and selection, and we're going to go ahead and edit our columns to make them human readable at this time too. So remember, click on the selected fields box, not the available fields, and then edit it through the header text option. You can see the titles changed. We've done everything here. We're going to do two more things: center it, and also to change the paging. Take a quick look preview of it first. So this is what you should get in the end. We still need to center it and change the paging. So let's do that now. I'm going over, highlight my grid. See that how that changes the tag properties. Go over to layout, and that's where I see horizontal line, change that to center. Next thing, I'll go down to paging and just change the page size from 10 to 5. So right now we have 10 records that show per page. So this is what the page size changes. Once we set it to 5, we have 5 records that show per page. Alright, so let's preview this. And here we go. 5 records per page. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is move on to creating a search page. We're going to use a drop down box to search. So we're going to copy our report page, and we're going to copy our report page, and we're going to call it intramural search.aspx this time. Don't forget the .aspx. Let's open it up. Our work is what we're going to work off of, but we're going to add a couple of more spaces below sports report to give ourselves some more work after we name it. And so now we're going to go to our standard, and we're going to find a drop down list. We're going to drag that in, and since we drag this in, we're going to need an access data source as well. It needs some place to get information from. So we're going to configure the data source, and so we're going to configure the data source just as we normally did. We'll take the sport table, click on the advanced tab always, and it's working like we should. Now we have to link it. So choose data source, access data source 2. So notice we have 2 access data source 1 for the grid, 2 for the drop down box. Let's go ahead and edit the items and add in our default value. In this case, select a sport. Remember, this won't work, this won't show up unless you use the append data bound items, set that to true. So we'll do that now. You can go ahead and hit F12 on your keyboard to preview. And we should have something like this. Okay, but it's not working. There is a good reason for this, because we haven't associated it with the grid. So let's do that right now. We'll click on the arrow menu for the grid, configure data source. So don't change these options. What we'll do is we'll hit a new button, where. So click on where and change the column to the column you want to change, in this case sport name. You'll see operators. It can equal, less than, greater than, and not equal to. We'll pick equal on this one. And your source is always going to be control. We have 2 items, a grid view and a drop down list. We are taking our values from the drop down list, so that's what we want to pick. Hit next, finish, and let's go ahead and test it out. Alright, so once we start changing things, you'll notice it's not going to work. There may be 2 reasons for this. The first one is the browser mode. We want to set that it doesn't tend to like IE10 in the preview mode. So if you hit F12 when you're in Internet Explorer, you can bring up this browser mode, change that to Internet Explorer 9 or 8. That is possible problem 1. Possible problem 2 is that we forgot to check something very important. So go to your drop down list, make sure enable Autopostback is clicked. If enable Autopostback is not clicked, that's often when will find when you change the values in your drop down list, nothing happens. So now here we're going to change it to Internet Explorer 8. We have enable Autopostback checked, and we'll start clicking on things. So football shows up correctly. Paintball shows up correctly. Now soccer shows up correctly because there's no data here, but it's hard to tell if it's an error with the program or if there's no data. So we want to use something called an empty data text to tell people that there's nothing here. You're seeing what you should see. So we'll type in no cadets played sports under the tag properties. Make sure you click the grid view before or you try and find this, or else you're not going to find it. So let's look at our final result. Right, we see our empty data text message, and if we change it to football, it works. Paintball works. Soccer, now we see our empty data text. Alright, and that's basically it. You should be able to do most of your project now.